Today we're looking at using the Elektron Analog Four as a drum machine. Of course you can build your own sounds on it, but you don't have to. There are a number of sound packs available from the Elektron website that you can download for free, and they have a ton of drum sounds available. There are packs that I know of are called Drums Volume 1, Drums Enthusiast. There are effects packs, there are FM sounds. There's a Richard Devine collection, and my personal favorite is called Paleofuturist, which is by a person named Skinnerbox. They have a bunch of sounds that are prefixed with the sound SBX for Skinnerbox, I assume. And these sound like emulations of classic drum machines. They sound fantastic. There are a ton of them. There's a bunch of ranges of sounds. And these are all just completely free. In the video today, we're going to do a demo of a number of percussion patterns on the Analog Four, but I'm mostly going to use one kick. The kick is called Kick M. It just rips through a mix, it rips through a room, it sounds great live, but it doesn't have much of a bottom end. To varying degrees, the A4 maybe doesn't have as much of a bottom end, but the Kick M maybe more so. So usually in a live setting or in a recording, I'll actually layer Kick M with a kick sound either from an 808 Eurorack module or from the kick synth on the Analog Force or the Akai Force or the MPC. I'm not going to worry about layering a subby sound in this video. I figure a lot of people are using a laptop or they're using their phones or even a TV, and maybe they're not going to have much of a bottom end anyway. So I don't see much point to eating up bandwidth with a sub here. Just know, just from the get-go, that the Kick M is not the subbiest kick on the A4. I do have some other subby kicks that are in the demo, but they're just not going to be that main 4 on the floor kick. I've got a patch I love called BD Minimal, which is nice and subby. There's also one called BD Sub, which sounds very good. And then there's a patch called BD Impact. But like I said, they take up bandwidth. I don't see a bunch of reason to push a bunch of low end through here, especially since I'm really compensating for the shortcomings of this sound. That'll bring us to our first or second con, which is that if I were to layer another kick drum sound on the Kick M, like one like BD Minimal or BD Impact, it would take up another track. So then I'd have that first step and the whatever steps it is, first 5, 9, etc., on 2 tracks taken up with just the 4 on the floor sound. A4 can send CV, so I can send a trigger to an external module and make up for it with with another instrument. But this 4-track thing is a limitation anyway. What it means, if you want to get more than 4 sounds from your instrument, you need to use the Elektron's parameter lock feature. So you have a pool of sounds, and in addition to the sound that's identified on the track, you can hold down a trigger and select a sound from the list. By having multiple sounds on a track, this limits your ability to set different track lengths and your ability to set different track tempos, since you'll just have 4 tracks, 4 track lengths, 4 track tempos. So you lose some flexibility if you're looking for a very polyrhythmic, very polymetric sound. You're going to lose some flexibility because of the fact that the A4 just has the 4 tracks. And if you're going to be playing live, you're going to lose a little flexibility in terms of what you can tweak as well. Since you just have the 4 tracks, you can't go in and adjust the sound on the track because you might lose track of which of your 4 sequencer lanes is which sound, because the sound you want to tweak, something that may be standing out in a mix, for example, might be a parameter lock. So you'd have to find the trigger and then make the adjustment you want to make. So you lose a little flexibility in a live setting. In a studio, maybe that's not such a big deal. Along similar lines, since there's only 128 sounds that you can parameter lock to, depending on how you set up your project, if you start a new project for each song, or if you use one project for an entire live set, you can run out of those slots pretty quickly. You also run the risk of accidentally overwriting a sound that you're using, so here it really depends how you're using the A4. Speaking of cons, for performance effects, you don't really have a main channel, so you don't have a main compressor, you don't have a main saturation, you don't have a main high pass, you don't have scatter effects or remix effects, none of that. The 4 tracks, you can bring them out to 4 different mixer channels, or you are running them out the stereo pair, but they're just coming out as the 4 tracks sound. There's no way to sort of glue them together unless you run them through an external box. In my case, I'm running through the Akai Force, so I have a high pass, I have a compressor, I have a little bit of saturation just to kind of sweeten things, since the sound of the synthesizer gets lost a little bit on its way to YouTube land. In terms of pros, for me personally, I think the synthesized sounds are way more useful than those on, say, the rhythm. I don't think I'm alone here when I say the kicks on the rhythm are earth-shaking, but the rest of it, maybe the claps, the hats, the toms, the snares, even the compressor, are a little frustrating sometimes. In the end, I like the synthesized percussion sounds on the A4. I think you get a lot of versatility. You get a lot of range of sound within just an individual sound, and you get a lot of different kinds of sounds you can get out of it. Speaking for myself personally, I'd say the A4 has defined my sound for maybe 10 years, the 10 years since I got the first one the first time. Since we're talking about the rhythm, I have to admit I'm a little jealous that the rhythm got that Euclidean sequencer update, and the A4 hasn't seen that yet. I still have my fingers crossed that Elektron will release the Euclidean sequencer feature in an update, but it doesn't have it now. Finally, in terms of owning the A4, it's just great when paired with a modular system. You have 4 CV outputs that can be 4 gates or 4 triggers. It could be 3 gates and a control voltage, 4 control voltages. The control voltage can be pitch, it can be envelopes, it can be an LFO. You can also route the audio from a modular system into the A4 and apply effects like the chorus, which is a great sounding chorus, the delay, which is super useful, and the reverb, which sounds like an Elektron reverb if you're into those things.
You